darkness veils his lovely face, I rest on his unchanging grace. When all around my soul gives way, he then is all my hope and stay. On Christ the solid rock I stand, all other ground is sinking sand. All other ground is sinking sand.
On Christ the solid rock I stand. That's my favorite song. No, I'm just doing this for my grandson to get him off my back. It's a mule town. Because that's what it was 30 years ago, 40 years ago. First time I voted on a bale of hay in a Liberty stable. And that's like I call it Mule Town. Liberty stable is where they sell mules and farm supplies. And that's when I voted the first time. When I first got my registration certificate, I had to read a portion of the Constitution. And the lady that was over it, she told my daddy, she said, "Cut, all of your children can read." But that's a long time ago now. I reckon I was about 19, 20 years old. I might have not been that old. But Pamplico has, I don't know, it just, all the stores in the little uptown area has closed except the hardware, the florist, and a loan company, whiskey store. And everything, the grocery store even closed in the little uptown area, and they down on the highway now, on the 51 highway. And they do have some eating places down there in a Dollar General. And that's it. That's Pamplico.
How long have you lived in South Carolina?
How long have I lived in South Carolina? All my life. Except about 6 months.
Where were you?
In New York. And it was bad as Pamplico.
What year was that?
It was worse than Pamplico because I couldn't go outside unless I'm in somebody else's door, and I didn't like that.
What year was that?
In 1943. You had no conveniences, no washing machine, no bathroom, no telephone. We did have electricity, but that was all. They'd wash clothes in a big tub and heat water in a big black pot, and you had to get wood to heat the water, and you had to get wood to cook with, to heat with, and all that stuff. But by the grace of God, we made it through. But you look back and you wonder, how did you make it? But it took doing without, getting the things you had to have, and not the things you wanted. But you look at the things you wanted, but you say, well, I ain't got to have that. But the things that you had to have, you got those. You got clothes to wear, you got food to put on the table. Even though we raised our chickens, we raised our hogs, and we used that pork meat. We cured it out in a big pork smokehouse, and well, they call it a smokehouse because after you put it and salt it down, and then you took it, wash it, and you hung it up, and you use oak. You burn oak wood and get the coals, and you kind of smothered it, and to make the smoke, and that would smoke the meat and make it, you know, like smoked meat.
Mm-hmm.
And we made our own syrup because we planted millet.
Like molasses?
And that's what we ate. We had a plenty of that. We had a plenty of chickens. We had cows. We made butter, and we had plenty of milk. But all of that you had to work for. You had to go out and milk that cow to get the milk.
Mm-hmm.
Then you had to put that milk in the refrigerator and skim the cream off it and put it in a churn to make the butter. And if you wanted buttermilk, that was the way you got buttermilk, because most of the time the cream would be sour. And whenever you get the butter out of the milk, you put the milk that was left in there, you put that in the refrigerator, and that was your buttermilk. 24 hours. That's what it took on the farm. And when I say 24, I mean there was something to do every hour in the day. And maybe you slept a couple of hours around midnight, and 4 o'clock, 3 o'clock you up in that tobacco season, getting the tobacco out the barn, and trying to, if you didn't cut enough wood in the wintertime to cure tobacco with, then you had to try to find some slabs or something to burn to cure the tobacco out. And you had to cut the sticks to put the tobacco on. You'd find strips. You'd get strips from the mill about, I don't know how many inches it was, but anyway, it was a square stick. And they had a thing built where you could put the strap, strips in, and cut them at the length that you need. They had a miter box, or whatever you call it. Mm-hmm. And you push the strip in there, and just take the handsaw and cut it off. And you could cut maybe 3 or 4 at a time. But I fed the hogs, I fed the chickens, I milked the cows. If he didn't have time to do it, I did it. Maybe he had to go in the field and plow. And so I didn't have nothing, well, I had something to do too, but I mean, it's something that I could not do right then, so I did whatever. Wash clothes on a rub boat, you did all that. For a while you was drawing water from a well, and then you got to a pump where you had to pump it. Hard. Some years it was pretty good. And some years you just, what you call break even.
Mm-hmm.
By the time you paid for the fertilizer and the hauling of stuff to the market and all your work, you just kind of break even like.
What do you do?
What did you do?
Yeah.
Borrow money for the next year, only crop for the next year. And when the next year come, if you didn't make good, then you still wouldn't have nothing. But most time you could pay your bills, because at that time we didn't have any bills but your insurance and your light bill. And if you didn't pay it this month, why, They didn't bother you. If a farmer was able to do it, his wife didn't have to go in the fields and do anything. She would just be like cooking and gathering vegetables and canning in the summertime. But a lot of farms wasn't able to do that. The women had to get out and do the same thing. The only thing the women didn't do was mostly plow, and then some women even plowed behind, used the plow behind the mule. But the average woman was mostly doing the housework after, especially when the kids were small. She doing the housework and, trying to keep around the house, yards clean and stuff like that. But when it came to that busy time to gather tobacco,
everybody had to work.
Everybody had to work. You see that picture up there?
Mm-hmm.
But I mean, it wasn't like that, because there wasn't no black man sitting down eating watermelon and white folks stringing tobacco. But everybody'd be working, black and white. And what we did, if you was living next door to me and you had kids, and so we would swap. Like, you help me and I help you. Hand for hand. If you had 4 kids that could work, I had 4 that could work, then we would swap hand like that. You help me this week on Monday, and I help you on Tuesday or Wednesday, whatever. We did, me and my brother, his wife and my husband, they worked together. They would gather, they'd be, have other people to go in the field with them to get the tobacco off the stalk. And other women to help at the barn to string it up, because we used to have to string tobacco. It wasn't like harvesting now, or even harvesting 20 years ago. We had to tie the string on the end of the stick, string the tobacco, had a person on each side handing you bundles of tobacco, and you string it, and then you hang it in the barn.
What would you talk about while you're working out there?
Oh, you ain't had time to talk about much of nothing, because you just had to keep your mind on what you was doing. Trying to string that tobacco fast as you could, because whenever they get we used to call it drag.
Mm-hmm.
They had these things built and had the mule hitched to it. When they get one of them full, they sent it to the barn, and you had to try to work faster so you could be able to get that and send it back, because they didn't have it so many. Maybe they had 3 or 4 mules pulling those things, especially if they had to bring it from a long ways to the barn. They had these little fellows about 10 years old. They'd be driving those mules, and they'd want to ride on the little drags with the tobacco on it, and a lot of times they'd turn it over, and then that would cause a problem. Somebody had to go help them get the dope out with all the tobacco that turn over. Oh boy.
Is built on nothing less than Jesus' blood and righteousness. I dare not trust